timing. Hello, and thank you for joining me at Portman Road. I hope you can hear me all right. We're working on a new laptop today. My old one has given up the ghost, so a bit of a change here, but back at Portman Road with a functioning laptop, which I'm delighted to have. And back at Portman Road, hopefully, with a bit of a difference on the pitch as well, because midweek was bad, wasn't it? Let's be honest, it was not great. 3-0 defeats to Charlton Athletic, came off the back of a 2-1 defeat at Middlesbrough. Ipswich haven't lost back-to-back league games out of the top flight under Kieran McKenna. The last time was November 2021, shortly before he was appointed. So that was November would have been, they lost 2-0 to Sunderland. That was away from home, a couple of late goals, and then 2-0 at Rotherham. It would have been at home to Rotherham even on the Tuesday night after that. The last time Ipswich Town lost back-to-back league games outside of the top flight. They're expected to be kind of the big dog in this league, and it's not really happened for them so far. So a real chance to bounce back here today. Not an easy one at all. So here to break down the team news, and boy, is there a lot of team news, as you can hear it being read out in the background here at Portman Road. And I'll run through it as soon as we've got through this, and you will actually be able to hear me properly. I'm just going to bring up some comments. Jamie says, morning all, that's an afternoon all. I hope I did say good morning all. I didn't just go into my default good afternoon. Fingers crossed, but good morning. Good morning, Jamie, and good morning, Saltwater Born 1295. Come on, you Blues. Absolutely. Should we run through some team news then? So 9, read them, count them, 9 changes to this Ipswich Town team. The team that were beaten 3-0 here by Charlton in midweek. There's a caveat to this, but let's run through it. We'll talk about the players who keep their places, which is just 2. Dara O'Shea and Leif Davis, the only 2 who keep their places in this starting lineup. That sees a change in goal. That is the enforced change. We know that Alex Palmer's going to be out for a few weeks, which is a real blow, but in Christian Walton, I think an able deputy thrown in at the deep end in midweek was not a good performance from him, but I think we've seen enough from him when he's prepared and able to come into games from the start to know that to know that he's able to deliver at this kind of level. I mean, even the games he played in the Premier League, I thought that he did quite well and handled himself against some top-class attackers and made good saves. At the back, that's where the consistency is. We go back to the back line that beat Norwich and lost at Middlesbrough, where Darnell Furlong comes in against his former team. We've also got, who's the other one who comes in? Cedric Kipre also comes in against his former team. Furlong will know a bit more about this group than Kipre does. Kipre hasn't played for West Brom for a little while now, been out in France. Furlong was with West Brom until the start of the season, played the opening day and made the move to Portman Road quite late on. So he's had a full pre-season, got to know a little bit about what a Ryan Mason team is, and Kieran McKenna's admitted that they have leaned a little bit on his knowledge of this group to kind of get a steer of what to expect out there this afternoon. Then into midfield, Azor Matasiwa returns as expected. Harden Chap-Taylor, not as expected at all. That was the big kind of twist, the big surprise within this. I mean, a lot of people thought that Jens Houston might keep his place. He has not been at the level in the last couple of games, and also you have to be careful with the knee issue that he's had. I thought this might have been another chance for Marcelino Nunez, but no, Chap-Taylor, this is his chance, and he's got to take it now. He's not had the opportunity for quite a while. And this will be the chance that they really will expect him to go out there and prove that he's capable to be starting regularly in this team. Is there an opportunity for him to nail down a few more minutes, if not a regular starting spot? We'll have to wait and see, but a big performance today would not go amiss. And then the front four, it's a bit more of a familiar front four because it's the one, as I said, that it's the same front four that beat Norwich here. It's the same front four that lost at Borough. Sindra Valet-Igeli out on the right, Jaden Philogene on the left. We've got Sam Smodic starting through the middle and George Hurst up top. 9 changes, but you've got to remember that this is the core group. It's only 2 changes from the team that lost to Borough, 2 changes from the team that won against Norwich. So, yes, it is a lot of changes from midweek, but that in turn was a lot of changes from the previous 2 games. So that's something to focus on in this situation. We'll go through, we'll take some questions as well, because I know that this team news probably will surprise a few people. There's lots of talking points, looking at Jack Taylor, looking at Jack Clark as well, who performed really well in midweek and doesn't get the start here. Let's go through and have a look at this one. We've got a question here. Ipswich have the most big chances missed so far, 22. What's your opinion on her starting? I understand it. Ultimately, he's got the experience at this level. There is an argument to say that Joanna Zon, who I thought did all right in midweek and was unfortunate not to get on the score sheet, deserves opportunities, given that Hurst hasn't been able to really prove that he's the nailed-on number 9 at this level. Missed the penalty up at Borough, and missed a pretty poor chance coming off the bench in midweek. So that's something that he needs to think long and hard about and figure out how to kind of get that cutting edge back. But ultimately, he's the one who's been chosen to play number 9 for a reason. He's the one who we saw perform in the last championship season. He's the one who we saw perform in the Premier League when he got given those opportunities. So it's about finding a way to get the best out of George Hurst as well. He needs to be given opportunities to work with, but he needs to be much more clinical as well. It is also hard to think about chopping and changing, where Hurst isn't in the best of form. Then you've got Azon who comes in. Azon does all right, but probably not well enough in my eyes to nail down that starting spot, where he's done quite well on the bench, actually. And yeah, it's about building these connections. I know that's something that Dino's mentioned a little bit lower down in the comments, so much for the connections. I get that, and I guess that on the flip side, you've got all the similarities and all those kind of connections that have been built up from the previous 2 games before the Charlton one, but chopping and changing with these midweek games, it doesn't really help anyone. I guess that you look at the centre-back partnership, for example. Greaves came in midweek. Is Greaves going to be the long-term answer? If not, then Kipre deserves a consistent run. But if so, then bringing Kipre in maybe becomes a bit more of a confusing decision. Same with Jack Taylor. Do you try and get Marcelino Nunez up to speed? Thought he did quite well, as the sun really shines through the gaps in the roof here at Portman Road. Kind of blinded me. Jack Clark as well, though. This one from Frenchy. Yeah, harsh on Jack Clark. I think Kieran McKenna was kind of essentially, sorry to use this, but screwed either way here, where if you leave Jaden Philogene out, you will have fans that say, well, Jaden Philogene's been our best performer at Portman Road. You can't leave him out. If you leave Jack Clark out, as he has done, you say, well, Jack Clark was our best performer on Tuesday night, and you're leaving him out. If you force them both into the same team, odds are it probably won't work because it hasn't done before. And then all of a sudden, you've got comments saying, well, why are you playing both in the same team when you've seen before that it doesn't work? And you've said out loud that it's an imbalanced side when you've played that way. So I think that this is the right decision to make, personally. If I was Kieran McKenna, I would have started Jaden Philogene over Jack Clark, as he has done. So I understand it's really difficult, and people have different opinions one way or another, but you're not going to make anyone happy. Everyone happy by having to make this call. It's a really difficult one. Go through with a couple of other ones. We've got, where was it? Good morning from Michael Warner. Aussie Stitcher says, cheering you on from Australia. That's right, really like that. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know what time it is. I'm really rubbish at my time zones. We'll go through and do a few more in a minute. Let's look at this West Brom team. Now, West Brom, I suppose, are a little bit on the other side, where they have been able to field a more consistent side. And we've seen that now, where they've made 2 changes to this team, 2 changes to the team that were beaten in midweek by Watford under new management. It's the first home game under their new or kind of reappointed manager. Lost that one 2-1. They make 2 changes to that. They're both in the full-back position. So we'll go through the team. Griffith starts in goal. It will be a centre-back partnership of Beckham and Phillips, both with Premier League experience, both quite experienced, essentially, centre-backs. Nat Phillips, for example, played at the top level with Liverpool, and even in that COVID season started week in, week out during their injury crisis. There's your centre-back partnership. George Campbell, who started most of the games at right-back, keeps his place there. That's a bit of an injury with Alfie Gilchrist, who does make the bench. A bit of a surprise from the West Brom side that he does in this case. So he comes onto the bench with Campbell coming in. And then at left-back, we see Charlie Taylor, who I believe might be I think he's on loan in Southampton. I can't remember. Anyway, someone with plenty of experience at clubs like Burnley and Southampton, played in the Premier League. and now comes in probably as a more defensive-minded fullback, than Callum Styles, who's on the bench, drops to the bench, who's very attacking, he's played as a midfielder. I know him a lot from covering his time at Millwall. Plays the winger. He can play anywhere basically, but he's not the most defensive. He's quite short as well. So there's the change there, probably just to guard them against two dangerous wingers on that side. Midfield stays the same. We see Usman Diakate partnering Alex Mauer, the skipper, who I think has done really well for West Brom this season. Illing Jr., who had a loan spell at Borough last season, didn't do too well, so much better in this spell on loan from Aston Villa. Isaac Price, danger man, number 10. Really good season so far. Young Northern Ireland international, scoring lots of goals consistently so far this season. Really impressed with him. He's someone to watch out for here. And I worry a little bit about the midfielders, where Ipswich have two good midfielders, but they spread out a lot. They leave big gaps, and that's going to leave lots of space for Price to be a real threat in that little centre pocket of the pitch. And centre-backs are going to need to be awake to it, and Matasiwa is going to need to stick tight to him because he's a really good player. Mikey Johnson on the left had a move to Flamengo that fell through over the summer. That's right, Brazilian club Flamengo he almost went to. Fell through, and he's been performing really well after opting to, deciding to stay at West Brom, I suppose, or having that move fall through. He's one of those that can cut in onto his right from the left flank and bend one into the top corner. Great player. And then the line being led by, Aune Hegebo as well, who's a bit of an unknown quantity in the sense that he's only just come into the division, but I think that he's starting to nail down that spot ahead of Josh Marja, who's on the bench for West Brom. Wildsmith, Styles, Bielik, Marja, Grant, DK, Gilchrist, Cole Deeming, and Oliver Bostock, two youngsters on the bench there. Let's go through and take some more questions. Good evening from Brisbane, says Michael. Good evening. Or good morning, really. Good afternoon now from Portman Road. There you go. Let's go and have a look. Rotation at the cost of team chemistry. It's a fair point to make about this. I think we need to see how things go on in the coming weeks as well. What the response is today. Look, if they go and win here today, there's no conversations really to be had about team chemistry and things like that. People will forget about it, and then all eyes will be on what that side will be against QPR if they go and do that as well. So, that's kind of, it's all result dependent, isn't it? And I guess performance dependent as well. Jamie's got a bet on Jack Taylor to score 8-1. Get your Wolves header on. Yes. Oh, that was a brilliant day, wasn't it? He scored a couple against Wolves. He scored against Wolves in the Carabao Cup, that screamer from distance. He scored against them, that winner at Molineux in the Premier League. Now he needs to come in and deliver against their arch rivals here. Great opportunity for him, as I said. I like Taylor. He puts himself on the line. This is Harps 8720. I agree with that, and I think that when he's come on in the games, and there haven't been that many of them, he does have that kind of attacking drive and bite. Sometimes that can kind of transfer into aggression that can see him get booked. But I think that in a midfield that maybe it sometimes can be labelled a bit too passive, a bit too relaxed, he can come on and add something else and add an extra dynamic in the in that kind of midfield area. So I really understand that. Jamie says, loving Smollick's work rate. Am I right to think he covers a lot of ground? It's not worked for Sam Smollick in an attacking sense this season, has it? Where the goals and assists haven't come. He hasn't got any to his name so far, which is embarrassing for people like me that said he'd be the top scorer, possibly in the division, but definitely in the team. I thought he'd really catch fire this season, and it hasn't worked out like that at all. But credit in the way that he runs and chases and presses, and you can see every time he comes off, he looks dead on his feet. And you need that element in the front line where Jaden Philogene is not going to do that. George Hurst is a different kind of striker who, for all his running, I don't think runs with the same kind of intensity, nor really would Cinderella Igeli. So, I think having that in that 10 position is really important. Interesting one here from Chris. He used to need to get his fitness up. Unfortunately, he doesn't look fit at the moment. I hadn't really thought about it from a fitness sense, to be perfectly honest, because I guess that side gets forgotten when you look at all the silky smooth play and the pirouettes where he beats players and that side of the game. But then on the flip side, there are elements to his game where they look quite sloppy, where it looks a little bit lazy at times, and there's a clear argument that it could be to do with the fact that his fitness isn't quite there. It could just be that's his style of play, where when it works really well, but when it doesn't, it just looks lethargic and it looks off the pace. I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest. Look, when you look at, say, his performance on Tuesday night, there's no excuse for his marking for the third goal. No, it's not a fitness issue. It's just the fact that he gave up running and chasing the ball, and that allowed Charlton. I think that was the goal where the ball went out of play, but later the whistle can keep it tight in those areas. You're a midfielder, a defensive-minded midfielder. You have to be better than that. So yeah, there has to be a caveat potentially to the fitness side of things. I think it's good he gets a rest today and can come off the bench, but yeah, big improvement to be made from his side. Let's see what else we've got here. I think will be a penalty today. AJ seems to get a lot of them. Town seems to get a lot of them going both ways, don't they? We've had a lot of penalty drama. I cannot for life me go through and think of all the games they've had penalties, but I think we've probably had a good 5 already this season. I think we've had probably, I would say, around the same amount of penalties in Ipswich games this season as they did in their last championship campaign where they won promotion. Someone would need to go back and check that, but I'd say that you're looking at those kind of numbers. It's been really bizarre. Maybe they're up around the championship this season. I'm not too sure. With that, though, from an Ipswich perspective, there needs to be a decision on who takes them, because the last one was obviously taken by George Hurst. It wasn't a great penalty, but it was a really good save. Hurst has now missed his last 2, one in the shootout at Bromley and one in that defeat to Borough last week. Does someone else need to step up? Sam Smodix takes penalties all the time, or he did at Blackburn. He backed James Philogene to take one. There's other players in the team and on the bench who you would back to take spot kicks. So is this a chance now to mix things up? I'd say yeah, as well. Maybe there's an element of protecting George Hurst where when he misses penalties after what he said at Birmingham, he seems to come in for quite a lot of criticism on social media, and that's not easy either. Let's have a look. Got one from Dino here. Clark, the number 10 role. I've seen this suggested, and I get it because he's kind of got those quick feet. He can play on the right, so he can kind of drift either side. I just don't think it would suit what his qualities are, the way he's cutting on that right. He's a touchline winger. He's a paint-in-your-boots winger. That's kind of what you want from him. And he has had to adapt to a different role at Ipswich, but then asking him to play as a 10. Not sure if he has played as a 10 in his career. I know he's had time on both flanks. I'd rather have him off the bench, and I know that's going to be an unpopular opinion with some. I just don't think that there's a way to get him and Philogene into the same team that works successfully, and you're going to end up with a situation where if you do have them as a 10 and a left-sider, they're going to try and occupy the same spaces. That's going to leave big gaps in areas that you don't really want. 9 p.m. in Brisbane, says Michael Warner. That's going to be a late night for you, but hopefully a really good one. We've had another follow-up here. 10:30 here in Sydney will be the game. Go through and take a couple more. Ben Southgate, hypothetical question. If McKenna was to drop O'Shea, who out there regular starters would be the captain? I'm not including Young as a starter at that point. That's a really difficult question. I mean, who is a regular starter at the moment with the way that the team's changing week on week? That in itself is difficult to say. You need to have a proper look at who the leadership group is, and we don't know who that is at the moment. You can kind of see from the photos, for example, that the team photo who's sitting around Kieran McKenna is that an indication. I've seen that as a theory on social media. Take today's team, for example, who would I have as a captain? Possibly Leif Davis for his longevity, but also Azor Matasiwa, I think, has those qualities as well. I know he's new in through the door, but he has played in that, or he's had that role rather, when he was at Groningen in the Eredivisie, where he was the vice captain, but with Ian Robben not playing regularly, he was able to kind of take the armband for most games, and that was at a young age. He's since gone on and developed a lot since then. So Azor Matasiwa, for me, captain material in him. Smonix to take penalties is a good shout. Yeah, as I said, I think that given what he's done previously, that would make sense. We also had another suggestion here from Chris. Nunez in the 10 ahead of Kiyusta and Matasiwa. There definitely is an argument to say, can you go to a flat midfield 3? Go to a natural 4-3-3. It doesn't necessarily have to be Nunez in the 10. Can you have it where Kiyusta plays on the left and you can have Nunez on the right and have Matasiwa in that kind of holding pivot role? It's always really flexible as well, isn't it? You can have kind of the right balance in doing that. Have one of them play as a 10 that can drop into deeper roles. You don't really have that with Smonix or with Akpom. So yeah, that could work. Yeah, I think we'll probably wrap it up in a minute because kickoff's coming up in about 15 minutes. Thank you for all your questions and for joining me, guys. How are you feeling? Comment, tweet me. I want to know how are things going with your vibes ahead of this game, because after a couple of results in the last two where they've lost, a little nervous, a little worried, I can't lie. Those of you who've seen the predictions online will know I think they could lose this one, just because I think there's some real consistency in this West Brom team, some good players, and I'm not sure that the Ipswich have shown me enough in the last 2 games to convince me they're going to have the fight and the bite and desire to go out and to win this game, a really tough game, despite what happened to West Brom in midweek, despite their inconsistencies. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, and there's every chance that I am wrong. I'm just basing it on what I've seen from the last couple of games. The Portman Road factor is big, though, even if it wasn't in midweek. We'll finish with this comment from Chris. Come on, the Tractor Boys. It's time to turn up today. It is time. There's no hiding now. 3 defeats in a row would be a terrible, terrible thing to happen at this stage of the season. This is the point where people need to get out there and show what they're made of. And there's a lot of players out there who've got something to prove today. So here we go. We'll see you on the other side. Thank you for joining me. If you're not watching live, come and follow all our coverage. Stu's live blog is up and running. We'll have match report, we'll have player ratings and all the reaction afterwards. We'll see you on the other side, guys. See you then.